Out of the gate, JT, as we roll on today, back from Raider practice. Clint Kubiak is going to be speaking here in a little bit, so we're going to get everybody locked in for that. Welcome to the flagship of the Silver and Black. As we get rolling out of the gate here, you can catch us live as we are up and running on YouTube at JT the Brick. Always a good place to see it on the LV Sports Network. I am here with the great Clay Baker, who is here with me every day. And we got a lot to cover. So that's it. We got a show to do. We got a game coming up, and the game is coming up here pretty quickly. So we're excited about that. The Niners are in town. That used to be a big deal. It is not a big deal anymore because the Raiders are nowhere near there. They're not close to the Bay Area anymore, and I don't think that the Raiders are getting the respect that they deserve in the Bay Area from people being able to find the games, people wanting to find the games, everybody looking to find these games. I get more and more people that tell me every year, I can't catch a Raider game. I don't know how to get it in Oakland. I don't know how to get the game, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what to tell you. I can't help you with that. You can listen on Compass Media Networks. You can find out what we're doing. We're always excited about the opportunity for you to listen to us. And the only way you're going to listen to us is on the Raiders mobile app because the Bay Area doesn't seem to care that much about playing the games. And a lot of people look hard and a lot of people want to find the games. And what could I do to help you along the way? That's actually a pretty good topic because we have so many fans that are still in L.A., in Oakland, all over the world that want to listen. And I keep telling people we are on multiple platforms. So find us, figure it out. It's easy to figure it out. We got multiple platforms for everybody, and we can get you up and running here, and you can listen, you can watch, and you can do all of that. So Clint Kubiak speaking. What we're going to do is we're going to take the audio and we're going to bank it and we're going to play it coming up here in a little bit. And then after he speaks, obviously everybody wants to know the status on Ashton Jeanty. I don't expect much. I was at practice earlier today. There was clearly no Ashton Jeanty there and no surprise. And we don't know when Ashton Jeanty is going to be ready to play, and they will let us know when they let us know. That's how this always works. The Dolphins are out there monitoring everything, and the Dolphins want to know what Jeanty looks like and what he feels like, and the Raiders won't participate in any of that. Okay, so everybody grow up. You're not in the training room. You're not with the doctors. You're not Ashton's mom and dad. You are not getting a status report that will make you sleep easy, Clay Baker, on the status of an ankle injury that we don't know what the status is going to be for quite some time. And Clay, I know Raider fans want to know all this, but they got to understand there are things you're not going to know until the start of the season.
Yeah, and I think the story on Jeanty will be one in which everyone follows really closely, especially if a diagnosis comes out between a low ankle sprain or a high ankle sprain. There's always varying degrees of how serious that becomes and how much time you could lose.
Yep, and that's it. So I think that Ashton Jeanty, I'm looking for the ability. I'm looking for the ability for this to be something that is not catastrophic. It's not. I'm looking for this to be something overall that's going to be unique, and he's going to be able to be okay. And I just don't have anything more for you. I don't have anything more for anybody else. I don't know what to tell you, and I hope the kid's good because he is a beast. And I truly believe that if he is a beast and has the season that he's supposed to have, we are going to have a very big year this year if Ashton Jeanty is ready to go. If Ashton Jeanty is not ready to go week 1, he's ready to go week 2 or 3, we'll figure that out overall. So we're going to figure that out overall, and we're going to come in with some information coming up here in a little bit, and we're going to figure out what's happening with him. And I just hope for nothing but the best when it comes to Ashton Jeanty. So the update from Ian Rappaport, who's been all over this with Adam Schefter, the job that they're doing here at ESPN reporting on this injury. Here's the latest update.
Well, I feel like the Las Vegas Raiders really had to recover themselves first. There was some tense hours in the Las Vegas Raiders building, and Ashton Jeanty went down. You hear the description from practice, players kneeling in prayer, thinking it was a major injury, having to be helped off the field. I mean, immediately you hear all that and you think, this is not going to be good. Could this be a season-ending thing? It's nothing like that. My understanding, this is something I reported with colleague Adam Schefter over the weekend is that it's an ankle sprain believed to be more low than high and not considered to be a major injury. But it is a real injury, Mike, and the reality is there is a chance that Ashton Jeanty may not be on the field for week one. They are hopeful that he will be, but there is a chance that he won't be, which certainly does mean a couple things. One, it's not the season-ending situation that I think some were scared about. And two, they're going to see a backup running back that they actually like a lot, and that might not be a bad thing either.
So that's what we got. How's everybody feel on that? How does everybody feel on that overall? And that's the latest update on Ashton Jeanty. So as I look at the career of Ashton Jeanty, it's going to be a long one. I think he could be a unique, great player in this league. I put a video out the other day. I truly believe that he could be, and I really believe this, I really believe that he could be the next Christian McCaffrey. I do. I think he could be the next Christian McCaffrey, where he can go out and he could be so good that they can install an offense around him as a pass-catching running back who can go out and put up monster numbers. That's all I want to see from him because I know he can run. We saw that yesterday behind the worst offensive line I've seen in my career with the Raiders. Not even close. It was that bad. And I think he could come out and play if he's healthy, and he'll be healthy at some point. There's no debate on that. He could be able to run forever, run hard, be a physical, durable back. But I think with this new Clint Kubiak offense and what he's going to be able to do in this offense, he could be an offensive weapon overall that can change the game. That's my hope. That's why he was drafted so high. That's why he was drafted at such a high level, number 6 overall, because they believe he could be more than just a runner in between the tackles. He could be someone who could catch the ball and be unique and catch the ball and run and catch the ball and make people miss. And if he's able to do that, then I think the Raiders become a very potent team. I think the Raiders become a team that could be absolutely great eventually. I don't know exactly when, but eventually they can be an elite team. Because you have to have him playing at an elite level for this to be an elite team. You have to have Fernando Mendoza playing at an elite level if they're going to be elite. Tyler Linderbaum, Brock Bowers, Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker. Everybody that we're talking about overall has to play at a Pro Bowl level if this team is ever going to make it to the Super Bowl. That's the only way I see it. Can't have a bunch of guys, as Raider Mort used to say. We cannot have a bunch of guys. There has got to be the development of Pro Bowl players. And when those Pro Bowl players pop up and the Pro Bowl players are there and they're playing at a high level, then this team can add more players, add a couple of more, and the next thing you know, be a Super Bowl contender. I mean, when you got Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean, and you got A.J. Cole, and you got Tyler Linderbaum, and you got Colt Miller, and then you got Ashton Jeanty, and Mike Washington could pop, and Mike Mayer all of a sudden starts getting the ball, and then next year in free agency, you get the top wide receiver or one of the top 3 wide receivers in free agency or the draft. Then you're close. Then you can win a Super Bowl or get to a Super Bowl with Jeremy Chin. Or you can develop Stooks to be a young stud safety. And you can start looking at the team saying, all right, Eric Stokes has got Darian Porter. Darian Porter developed into a player that has the ability maybe to be a Pro Bowler. But if we're not able to do that, we the Raider Nation, if we can't get players to play at a much higher level, you're not going to beat Denver and the Chargers in Kansas City. They have better players the last couple of years, many better players. And now we got to figure this out. So that's where we're going. That's where the team is. The team's got to make some big decisions coming up here on who's going to start, who's going to make the team overall, and how they're going to make this thing a competitive year and a competitive season. That's what this whole thing's about here in the next 2 weeks. How competitive can this team be against Miami, the Chargers, and New Orleans? If they're able to do that, then we're talking about a team that has a chance to be in games in the fourth quarter, a team that has the opportunity to win games in the fourth quarter because they're playing with the lead or they're trailing by not a lot and they can come back and steal a game late. That's all I'm focused on right now, how they're going to be able to do that. Also, I wanted to jump into the monologue here and talk about Kirk Cousins and Mendoza, because I think this is a really big topic, and we're up to speed. If you want to join us on YouTube, my son just came in and saved the show on the stream. I appreciate that, my young gun son. So a couple of things on Kirk Cousins. There's a lot of confusion now in the national media on Cousins starting or not. I don't see any confusion. I always leave the window open in case something happens that I don't see happening. And that would clearly be that Fernando Mendoza is the starter week 1. I don't see that happening, and I don't believe it should happen. But other people are stirring the pot because the national media, they want to see Mendoza play. They want to see Mendoza. He's a star. It's better for clicks. It's better for ratings. It's better for NFL Live, Good Morning Football, Stephen A., everybody out there. Mendoza is much more engaging to the national media than it is Kirk Cousins, who we're very familiar with. But I think Cousins should start these first 3 games and get the Raiders out of the gate. As I always open up the show and I say out of the gate, I get out of the gate quickly. That's what the Raiders need to do. Even though Mendoza has looked good at times, he's been hit a lot. The pick 6, I'm not saying is the end of the world, but Cousins is a better player than Mendoza by a lot right now. Because I looked at my notes for the game coming up here. Mendoza's got over 6,000 snaps in his career. 6,000. Regular season, playoffs, and preseason. And I think Mendoza's got, 31? It's not even close. So with that being said, Cousins is ready to start. He also knows his playbook better than everybody in the league, including Sam Darnold, who just won a Super Bowl with this playbook. He's been in it longer. So with all that, Cousins must come out and play well. He did not play well last year in Atlanta. He didn't. He's played well for most of his career. He's got to play the best to his ability right now. So I don't think he should play in next game. We'll find out tomorrow. We'll have an indication. We'll wonder what's going to happen overall coming up here. But if Cousins is doing his homework, which he is, if he's studying the playbook, which you know he is, and he comes out and he hits the ground running quickly over Malik Willis and Tyler Shook and outplays them and plays good games. I'm talking 300 yards, 280 yards, 2 to 3 touchdowns, limited interceptions, if not any. The Raiders can win 2 out of their first 3 games, maybe all 3. I'd have a lot of confidence with Cousins going into L.A. and beating Justin Herbert if Ashton Jeanty is ready to play by then, if they're able to run the ball, if they're able to play defense and get off the field on 3rd down. Cousins has won much bigger games than week 2 of the Raiders at the Chargers. He's won much bigger games in his career than this upcoming week 2 game. So you got to have confidence in him because you know he's won games bigger than this. And you know he can handle the pressure. And you know he's not going to wilt. And he's not going to be a guy that all of a sudden it's too big for him. With Mendoza, if you had to throw him in against the Chargers in L.A., you don't know because he hasn't played yet. And you don't know if he'll be able to do it. With Cousins, I know that Cousins can beat the Chargers. I know that Cousins can beat a lot of teams on this schedule. Some are going to be more difficult than others. So let's go with Cousins until we're led to believe it's not Cousins. Because the national media is stirring the pot. And the national media wants controversy. And the national media wants Mendoza right out of the gate because it's good for them. We're here on the station here trying to find out what's good for the Raiders. What is good for the Raiders? And Clay, have you wavered on this at all? Or have you, and you're very transparent. Have you changed your opinion in the last month about the starting quarterback position?
No, not at all. But I would still like to see what could Mendoza do in preseason, week 3 against the Niners to maybe even make the debate a little stronger. Does he need to have, and when he does play, does he need to have explosive plays or does he just need to avoid the big mistake?
Yeah, I don't know what option he's going to have. If Mendoza's playing against the Niners with the number 2 offensive line and the number 3, how do we judge him? How do we judge him if he's playing with the 2s and 3s and not playing with the 1s?
Only because Kubiak says the only thing he needs is more reps.
Yep.
So if it just comes down to that, then let's tally up the reps, as many as we can, in a safe possible situation.
Yeah. I had a big conversation today with someone in the NFL. I'll leave his name out, and I don't exaggerate. I tell you the truth. And I was talking to someone about this around the league, not associated with the team, but a big name. And he told me that this is going to be a work in progress. I go, what do you mean? They said, from what I've seen in the preseason, it looks like this is going to be a work in progress. You don't have the receivers that you need yet, and you clearly don't have the secondary that you need, so it's a work in progress. That's fair. I think that's fair to say. So now what we need from the conversation that I heard today is that the Raiders need an above-average performance from their secondary and above-average performance from their offensive line. Tyler Linderbaum makes the Raiders' offensive line much more legit, but he hasn't played a game yet for the Raiders when it comes to the regular season. Okay, when we look at the secondary, I believe that the secondary is better. Teron Johnson, I believe that the secondary can make plays. I think the secondary is better than the one the Raiders had on the field last year, but they're going to be attacking. I think that all the teams that are playing the Raiders are licking their chops to attack the Raiders secondary. You know it, I just said it. That's what they're going to do. So the only way that's going to be beneficial to the Raiders is if Max Crosby's a lunatic because he hasn't played other than practice. We don't know what he looks like in the game. I'm assuming he's going to be really good. We get something out of Kwity Paye and Malcolm Kuntz early, and one of these defensive tackles just blows up like Tonka Hemingway or Adam Butler, and they do their job. They just do their job and play well. But I'm putting a lot of pressure on Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker to stay on the field, be productive, and get off the field on third down. Because the only way the Raiders can get carved up, in my opinion, is two ways. One, they can't stop the run. They just run it up the middle, and the Raiders can't stop it. Oh, boy. That better not happen. And number two, the quarterbacks that they play have time to let plays develop, and the Raiders just can't cover. They just can't cover. And I hope that's not the case. So the pass rush is going to be critical, and the offensive line is going to be critical. If they come out ready to play, I think the Raiders have a puncher's chance in all these games. All of these games. But they're going to attack Porter at corner. He needs to step up. Rob said that in our chat. I agree with you. Thor saying the D-line needs to get pressure. It will help the secondary. Absolutely. All of this matters. And let me ask you all as we open up the show. Do you all think that the Raiders are going to be peaking at the right time, week one? Let that sink in for a second, what I just told you. Because the whole league is shutting down the preseason. The whole league is scared to death on the preseason. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to get hurt. He can't play. He can't play. He can't play. Unbelievable time to be an NFL player in 2026 when you get paid enormous money and you're not expected to play in the preseason. You're almost asked not to play. That's where we're at in the league in 2026. We're at a time in 2026 where the players are not expected or called on to play in the preseason unless they're new, they're on the verge of being cut, and they're competing. But most of the star players around the league are not going to play. And there's probably, what would you guess, everybody? What would you guess about, 40% of the head coaches are scared to death to get anybody hurt? This week we heard Mike Vrabel, who won the AFC, say we're not a deep team. Ben Johnson's not happy at all with the Bears, at all. He doesn't like what he's seeing. So as we go around the league, there are a lot of coaches that are like, the hell with this. The hell with this. Get me to week one. Bubble wrap everybody. Let's get that little preseason bye week. Let's break down our game plan for week one against whoever we're playing, and let's give it our best shot. This is not like buttoned up preparation. What are you talking about? These guys are barely in pads. I'm not talking the Raiders. I'm talking the whole league. So what do you expect week one? What do you expect? Everybody at their best when all they're doing is practicing against each other? Now, the joint practice helped the Raiders. They went up against a really good team. That was a very good team in Houston. I think that helped them overall. But, Miami, I'm not going to say Miami's an inferior team, But Miami's one of the worst teams in football. And the Raiders are one of the worst teams in football until they start winning. So the Raiders have got to peak for that Miami game. There can be no excuses when I host a post-game show after Miami. It can't be like, the offensive line, we're gelling. It's going to need a couple of weeks. Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? It's going to take a couple of weeks. What are you talking about? These are paid football players. They got to be good to go right now. Right now, they got to be ready to play week 1 unless there's an injury. And we got a big injury with Ashton Jeanty. We don't know the degree of it. Everybody else has got to be playing their best football of the year week 1. Make sure they are. Do what you need to do. Shut them down. Have them look at more film. Get them in the pool. Do whatever you got to do, but have them ready to play. And that's the monologue. 702-365-9200. Clint Kubiak will have that, so I want to hear it with you. We're going to hear a little bit of that coming up. As a matter of fact, we'll get out and we'll do that because Alex Eschelman is going to join us, and we're going to talk to Jeff Sherman as we open up the show. Hey, I want to thank my buddy Roger from Steiner's, a Nevada-style pub. If you're looking, he came in today, cut some commercial spots, gave me a brand-new, beautiful wine opener, a brand-new beer opener, a flashlight. I mean, this place is unbelievable. Roger's one of the guys I've been trying to do business with since I came here, and he's on board. So if you're going to Steiner's, a Nevada-style pub, you know how great the food is already. You love the food there. The gaming is incredible. Roger's always working on deals to treat his patrons and customers even better. And it's a great place to connect with friends with all of their locations. And let me get you the locations because I'm usually at the one on North Buffalo, 1750 North Buffalo, Las Vegas Boulevard and Windmill, and also on 8410 West Cheyenne. Steiner's, a Nevada-style pub, also proud partner of the Aviators. We welcome Roger, and I appreciate him coming in today as we cut spots. That's what you do in radio. You cut spots. And Roger was fantastic. All right, we're going to find out what Clint Kubiak said coming up about Ashton Jeanty. And then we'll get to our guest today, and we'll get you rolling here. I'm excited. This is an exciting week. It's Alumni Week for the Raiders. 300 alumni in town. That'll be special.
Ripping back to throw. Again, 9 seconds. Pressure from Kean Sloan. He's giving chase. Ripping across the middle. Intercepted by the Raiders at the 38-yard line. Devin Lafayette, go keep that football. The clock is down to 1 second. The Raiders are going to take a knee, and they're going to come to Houston and steal a win here in the preseason.
Yeah, the Raiders stole a win in the preseason. Jason Horowitz on the call. That was a big win. That was. Look, you're either into the preseason or you're not, and you don't think it's a big deal. I was there. It was a big deal. It brought the team together. It was Clint Kubiak's first win. It was a big deal. And for Aiden O'Connell to go the length of the field, that's something for the Raiders to build on. We're brought to you by the Black Hole. We're counting down for the Black Hole and their kickoff party home weekend. Home weekend against the Dolphins at the Palms. Too Short, Warren G. That's going to be fantastic. So for everybody going, go to theblackhole.com and get your tickets. Get your tickets, get your discount, become a lifetime member as we get rolling here. We get rolling here and we're waiting for the Wi-Fi. Oh, boy, I am going to bite my tongue today, man. I am going to bite my bleeping tongue. Let's get to Clint Kubiak as he just spoke to the media.
Clint, do you have any updates on Ashton Jeanty and the severity of his injury?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the injuries. He's on the mend.
Is there any talk or conversation about starting the season on IR for Ashton?
Not going to talk about injuries. He's on the mend.
There was a point after he went down, you guys kind of all took a knee and took a moment. What initiated that and who kind of led that? It looked like it was a prayer.
Yeah, said a prayer. Power of prayer. Yeah.
Like answered? Did you get like good news in that regard?
Yeah. Well, he always answers in his time.
Clint, if we could go to the battle with JPJ and Caleb. Have you seen any separation? Do you think is it tied in your mind? Where is that battle right now?
Yeah, it continues. You know, this game will be really important for that battle. I know both those guys are going to play this year. We're counting on both of them as well as as well as a lot of other guys. So this competition has only made them better and our team better.
Are you looking at guys way to play a rookie quarterback? How much is not only his preparation, where he is, but also the offense itself?
Could you say that one more time?
How ready is the offense to support him, I guess? How much does that factor into your decision when to go with a rookie quarterback?
Oh, shoot. It doesn't matter. We all got to get ready. Whoever's playing quarterback for us, it's a team thing. It's not the QB playing well and everyone else is not, or the other way around. The offense will play well when everybody's contributing.
You saw Mike get a lot of work with the ones these past couple of days. What do you think of the depth in that running back room in general, and how has Mike kind of stepped up these last couple of days?
Yeah, I think he's had a good camp, and we have to go see him play really good football on Thursday. But like you said, we got a lot of other guys that have to step up. Dylan, we got Himby, we got Dari. Omar's doing a great job coaching those guys and getting them ready.
You were very vocal about, I don't know if you'd use the word displeasure, but we're not happy with your wide receivers' performance in Texas. I'm just curious, where do you think that group is right now, Clint, at this stage in camp?
Yeah, well, I think any position, it's when you go out and you have trouble with your assignments, I'm going to have a opinion about it. And it's not just them. We've had plenty of other guys that got to step up. A lot of young guys, and then guys that we're counting on in that receiver room. I think it's just like the guard position that those guys continue to make each other better. It's competitive, and and we know that all those guys are going to play.
Where's Mike Washington made the most progress since you've had him in that short time he's been with the Raiders?
Well, I would say that he has done a phenomenal job of growing up really fast. I think he got here, we drafted him, you come to the NFL, there's a lot on your plate, and then we throw all these new protections at you, these new fronts and blitzes and routes, and I think that he's a guy that understands that we are counting on him, and he needs to get up to speed quickly, and he's been mature about that, and he's going to keep working.
What is your approach for preseason game number 3? It used to be the dress rehearsal, but how do you approach this one?
Yeah, we'll see Thursday. I don't want to talk about who's playing, who's not playing, but we're going to get we'll see Thursday.
Brock Bowers seems like a star that hasn't dimmed at all this training camp. Is that like a really good sign for you going into the season?
Brock's had a really good camp, and he's got to keep ascending, on the way to Miami in this first quarter of the season. And he's going to play well, and we need the rest of his teammates to play really well around him.
Have you seen him stepping up as a leader, maturing kind of in that role?
It's my first year with Brock. Everybody leads in their own way. He leads with production.
Clint, what was the reason behind, the last 2 days, starting practice inside and going back outside?
Just my call.
Have you come to a decision on starting quarterback, or do you want to keep that competition going into the last game?
Yes, the second part.
You talked about the wide receivers. Did you feel like they responded well this week after you kind of talked about it publicly?
I think they've had a good camp. They had a rough day, and I think they've had a good camp overall.
Malcolm Kuntz is a guy that make a lot of money now. He's a veteran. What do you need to see from him to really step up and be that guy?
Yeah, well, we need Malcolm, like all the other guys, to produce. To lead in his way. We know that he's got a great skill set rushing the passer, and we're counting on him on all 3 downs.
It's known that this DB group is very young. Have you seen a lot of growth from them from the start of offseason to now?
I have, and kudos to Joe Woods. Joe Woods is a coach a lot of football. He's a guy that really works hard and prepares his guys for practice. Really excited to have him, leading that young room.
On the back end of that, what do you believe Trey Stooks has done to be able to earn more reps throughout, camp, especially late in these last weeks or so?
He's around the ball a lot.
Coach, this is your first time as an NFL head coach. You've had a player being carted off the field in the middle of the game, and then obviously whatever the injury is with Ashton the other day. How have you been able to navigate it, and is it a bit different versus your roles in the past on a coaching staff?
That's part of the NFL. That's part of football. You coach or play long enough, and those things happen. They're unfortunate, but that's the attrition of a season.
You're coaching against your brother Clay this week. What was it like going through the head coaching interview process with him this offseason?
That's kind of a blur. It feels like so long ago. That process was so easy for me because I didn't have to think about it because we were playing games. So we were game planning in the playoffs.
You've been on teams with a bunch of veterans. And this is going to be an extremely young team. Is that exciting for you just to have so much youth? I mean, there's going to be youth mistakes, but to have that much promise.
Yeah, it is. It is. I know Spy did a great job with the draft. You know, we got some young, hungry guys that are going to help us play this whole season and beyond. It's always fun to coach all ages, but especially to have an imprint on a young man and help him grow. You know, that's what's fun about coaching.
Just going back to Clay, you have similar backgrounds, but how are you guys different as coaches, and what makes him effective?
Yeah, my brother is the smartest guy in the family, and I'm not kidding. He's brilliant, works really hard. I love him, and not going to love him on Thursday night.
Getting Dylan in the end zone, same thing with DeRay. What does that tell you about the depth in the running back position, where a lot is talk about Ashton and Mike, but these guys showed their work too on the weekend?
Yeah, it takes a whole room for the whole season, and those guys have to contribute a ton on special teams. So just really pleased with, Coach Joe D and Tim and Marquise and how they develop them on that side of the ball, because when you're not in that early role, then you have to make sure you're contributing on fourth down, and they do.
Obviously, a lot of extended special teams work this week. Was that in response to the penalties last week?
We got into our in-season schedule, so that's kind of how it's going to be.
How have you seen Patrick Johnson develop so far this preseason?
Yeah, he's getting turnovers, getting strip sacks, can play multiple positions. I think he's a mature guy that had a really good game last week.
Clint, are you at least optimistic that Jeanty may have avoided something that could have been serious, or without getting? I know you don't want to get into detail about the specifics of the injury, or at least optimistic that it's not something that's like major.
Well, again, Ashton got hurt in practice, and the whole team took a knee. You know, I think that says a lot about him being on the mend and us counting on him. So really excited to get him back, and I'm a huge believer in the power of prayer.
We spoke to Ian Thomas yesterday, and he said that he really takes special teams serious, and if you guys need him on special teams, that he'll flourish there.
Who is that? What?
Ian Thomas.
Ian, go ahead.
How does it feel to have such a guy like that who is just going to do whatever's asked of him?
Yeah, Ian's the guy we're counting on this year. Counting on him on offense, counting on special teams. He's played a lot of football in this league, so he's going to have a role on this team, and he's had a solid camp, as has Albert, as has 41 that's come in here. There's been a lot of competition, and they've all made each other better.
How would you assess Fernando's first training camp in the NFL?
Well, I'd say it's his first one. It's baptism by fire every day at all positions, especially a rookie quarterback. So I see an improving player that we just got to keep being hard on and get him better.
All right, that's Clint Kubiak, who just spoke to the media at the Intermountain Health Performance Center. He's not going to talk about Ashton Jeanty. I told you that days ago when it happened. He's not. He's just not going to get it. You're not going to get it from him. Some coaches like to talk more about that. He talks less. Most Raider fans here in my chat and everybody who's texting love it. Love it. He's not going to change. That's who he is. He believes in the power of prayer. He thinks that the player's on the mend. We all know he's on the mend. So I'm just trying to get fans to get engaged in the show who are grown up enough and mature enough to understand what he said. That's it. There's nothing more we can do. He wants him to come back. He's really important. The team prayed for him. And it looks like he's going to be okay. I don't know how long it's going to take for him to be great again. But the good news is he didn't have a catastrophic knee injury. We know that. There is breaking news. Jamar Chase of the Bengals landed awkwardly after a deep route and came up grabbing his left knee and then went to the ground. Everybody on the internet is watching this. Adam Schefter reporting. So a situation to monitor in Cincinnati. We don't know about the injury. I'm keeping an eye on Rappaport and Schefter. Let me get you Ian Rappaport on Jamar Chase. I mean, everybody wants Jamar Chase on their fantasy team. He said worth keeping an eye on. Charlie Clifford, who was at practice, Jamar Chase landed awkwardly on this deep route, grabbing his left knee and then going to the ground. Oh, boy. That would be bad. That would be bad for the league. Hopefully it's not bad, and hopefully we'll get some good news by the end of the show. Giants wide receiver Calvin Austin was carted off today from practice with what one source described as a serious knee injury. That comes from New York Giant camp. Everybody, as they're saying, you can't shut it down. These games are scheduled. The referees have hotel rooms. They're here. Fans are buying tickets. But all these coaches want to wrap this thing up. They want to wrap this thing up. And they want to get to the season without any injuries. I've been doing this a long time. I think this is the worst it's ever been. Clay, not with the amount of injuries, just the tone around the league of how everybody's just done with it. It's 3 games instead of 4. It's one less game. There's injuries. There are joint practices. And the tone I'm hearing from a lot of these coaches is, let's just wrap this thing up.
And it's starting to get into this wave of, all right, cut another week of preseason, and it opens the door for an 18-game schedule in the regular season. Just start shortening up the calendars in these timelines.
Yeah, you just wonder if people, players are going to get hurt more and more because they're going to get hurt in practice and joint workouts because they're not going full steam in some of the preseason games. They're keeping analytics on all this stats. Everybody's keeping an eye on it. Coming up next, Jeff Sherman's going to join us. He's now at Circa. I spent a little bit of time at Circa over the weekend, and he is one of the premier bookmakers in town. He'll have news on the Tour Championship College Football Week 0. We'll take a look at the moving line for UNLV as they host Memphis, and to see if there's any line changes with the Dodgers, who are starting to play better baseball. Jeff Sherman is joining us. Our friends who join us all the time are the M Resort. They have 2 towers, which is better than 1. Great restaurants, great dining, and the official hotel of the Silver and Black.
For the hole at the 15, bounces outside 10, a Wall into the goal line. Touchdown Raiders! Dare Agumbawale with a 20-yard burst through the left side, and with 7:36 to go, the Raiders have taken a 17-point deficit and cut it down to 4.
Agumbalare. I got that right when I said it. Jason Horowitz got it better. Raiders got a couple of interesting pronunciations out there. JT, back with you as we continue on. We welcome Jeff Sherman, Circa Sports Senior Risk Manager. And, Jeff, I was over at Circa a bunch this weekend and didn't bump into you, but I was at a big fantasy draft party. Everybody's in there signing up for the Circa Grandissimo and all the contests there. You've been involved with contests at former properties you worked for. What's fascinating about this and the amount of people playing in them and all the people that are coming in internationally and coming there to sign up?
I think the biggest thing and the difference for me is the growth of Survivor that we're seeing. I mean, we already have over 12,000 entries at this point. Last year at this time, we had just over 7,000. So we have over a 60% increase, and that's where the big attraction is. I've never been involved in a Survivor contest, but you could see how popular this is, just picking the outright winner each week. So that's the thing that stands out most to me.
Let's get to Week 0 in college football and your expertise in handicapping games that are really tough. How you get information, how do you watch these teams, how do you get information on these teams when they don't play, and they're just having spring games and practices here, and some giant point spreads by some of the better teams playing a lot of these smaller schools.
Yeah, we just try to start these numbers out where we think the adjustments need to be made, and then early in the summer, you get start play that iron these things out leading up to this week. So we've already seen a lot of two-way movement on a lot of games. For instance, Memphis at UNLV, that started UNLV -4, got as high as UNLV 6.5. It's back down to UNLV 4.5. So a lot of two-way and a lot of different opinions on this early week.
Want to know what you got over at Circa with this LSU game? I saw a little bit of a line movement. It's LSU-Clemson. Clemson's played in the biggest games over the last 10 years as much as Alabama or anybody out there, and now they seem to fall a little bit on harder times with Debo there. But I know this is the first game for Lane Kiffin. There's a lot of noise about Kiffin looking to bring in an NFL player back to LSU. What does the line change look like here in the total on this one?
Yeah, that thing opened up 11.5 on LSU, got as low as 9.5, and now it's been bought back up to 10.5. So, like I mentioned, we're seeing a lot of two-way early in these markets, but currently sitting LSU -10.5, total of 51.5.
And then one other one, we have Fernando Mendoza here in Vegas, but Indiana opens up at home against North Texas here in Bloomington. I got it around 40.5 the last I looked here. I don't know anything about North Texas and Indiana here. It doesn't have Mendoza, but this is, I would assume, the game where they raise their championship banner, they celebrate, and their fans come out in full force.
Yeah, and we had opened Indiana 41.5, down to 41 right now. No movement on the total, still sitting steady at 55.5.
Jeff, anything you can tell us about overall win totals, any movement since you've come over to Circa that's unique here overall, especially the Rams, where the win total is out for the Rams and their odds to win the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, the Rams are the most popular team going out there, and they have the highest win total sitting at 11.5, over -130. The public's enthralled with them to win the Super Bowl. We see a lot of parlays with the Rams going to teams like the Dodgers and other sports, a lot of the other favorites. So the Rams, most notably, like I said, the highest win total. The second highest one is Baltimore, 11.5, under -155. So the price discrepancy, you could see the difference there.
Jeff Sherman is our guest. The Dodgers seem to be getting back on the right track again. As we sit here today, the Dodgers have a 9.5 game lead over the Padres. Their odds to win the World Series, has any movement come there with the Dodgers, as the Dodgers have won 7 out of their last 10 and 5 in a row, 6 in a row?
Yeah, their odds have actually crept back up a little bit because when they traded for Skubal, there was a reaction, and we brought them down to, I believe, +160, but now they're up to +175. So, they had that stretch, a tough go right after they traded for him. But now they've rebounded nicely. But in that low range, you're attracting money on other teams, so we can afford to bump them up a little bit, sitting at +175 right now.
Wrapping it up with Jeff Sherman from Circa. So you watched it, and you handicapped the Tour Championship coming up at the BMW. It really looked like the wheels were coming off from Wyndham Clark. Rory got it to even, tied him up at one point, and then Wyndham Clark ended up putting him away down the stretch. It was really one hole that flipped everything. Can you talk about the odds movement for Wyndham Clark and how he was able to win that tournament and his momentum going into the Tour Championship?
Yeah, he saw some support last week at 40-1. I believe we closed him at 37, but like you mentioned, it was that 17th hole where they're tied with 2 holes to go, and it was a 3-shot swing there that pretty much ended the tournament. Now people are talking Wyndham Clark in the conversation for Player of the Year with his U.S. Open win. This week he sits at 17-1 odds for the Tour Championship. Rory's at +925. Scheffler's still the favorite at +355, even though he was dealing with the hand, foot, and mouth disease last week.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know about that. So overall, with the Player of the Year, do you feel like it comes down to this tournament? If Rory was able to win, Scheffler or Wyndham Clark could come win these last 2 events and steal that award or earn that award.
Yeah, I think you need a win out of Wyndham Clark to get it. Yeah. I still think Scheffler's a big front runner for it. But if Wyndham Clark gets a win here and finishes with 2 wins, then he gets in the conversation.
One more golf topic, not with odds, but the fact that Rahm looks like he's done with LIV. Do you think after Indianapolis that's a wrap for LIV, or with some of the expiring contracts they have and that the money that they put forward, we'll see LIV again?
I think LIV will be done. It's interesting that Bryson DeChambeau on his Instagram put some pictures of him with some LIV trophies and said it's been a nice run. So that might be leading into no more LIV. And I know some of the conversations have been started with the other golfers about rejoining the DP Tour and going that route. So I'd be surprised if we see another version of LIV resurface.
Welcome to Circa, Jeff. It's going to be fun. Great run for you there, especially with football, college, and pro coming up in week 0. Thanks for the time.
All right. Thanks, JT.
That's Jeff Sherman, who's got a big new job. He went from over at the Westgate, where he did a great job at the Superbook, and everybody knew he would land in a bigger spot, and he was able to land over at Circa, Senior Risk Manager. And I want to give a shout-out to Circa. I was out there, went to Chef Barry's. I went to Barry's Chop House, which was great. Saw the staff there. Barry's a dear friend of mine over the years, and had a nice time. The buddies that I went with really appreciated the Draft Network. I got a nice award. Hung out with many members of the Black Hole. It was really cool to get downtown. I don't make it downtown much, but when I do, I always have a good time. And my first stop whenever I go downtown is to Barry's and to see Chef Barry, longtime friend of the show. We moved Alex Eschelman. She'll join us here at the top of the hour. Raiders insider, UNLV insider from Channel 13 in town. We'll talk to her coming up. And we want to hear from some of you. out there. We got everything right today, everything technically good, I hope, and we want to get some calls coming in and your opinion on exactly what you believe should be the path with Ashton Jeanty. I don't want you to predict the injury when he comes back. I want you to predict what Ashton Jeanty will do when he comes back at 100%. How do you see this year different for Ashton? I see him as he's growing as a pass catcher. Because if Brock puts up enormous numbers and Ashton puts up enormous pass-catching numbers, I'm talking big numbers, then the Raiders are okay. But without having a number one wide receiver, Trey Tucker is, I guess, that. Jack Besh hasn't emerged yet. Dante Thornton has been a big disappointment up until now. Ashton Jeanty's going to have to catch some balls, and they go down as receptions. And I don't care what the number is on your back. If you catch the ball and you get a reception, you move the chains. I think this is going to be a critical year for Ashton, along with Clint Kubiak. You know, Clint mentioned his brother, who's the coordinator over in San Francisco now. That's going to be fun to see what he knows and what he tells Robbie Leonard about what they need to do. I don't think Raiders are going to show much on defense. I think whatever they think they're doing right, they want to hide it until Miami. Woodson Bourbon Whiskey. Charles will be out here for Alumni Weekend, and when I see him, I'll have a Woodson Bourbon Whiskey in my hand and a cigar. Charles Woodson's great legacy as a Hall of Fame player, Heisman Trophy winner, and his Woodson Bourbon Whiskey.
Either brick.
Welcome back, everybody. JT here in Vegas. We're all over the world. You can find us everywhere on all our platforms. And we're brought to you by Fletcher Azul Tequila. One of my great friends threw his wife's 50th birthday party over the weekend at his home. And he had the Fletcher Azul Añejo, the Reposado, but the key was the extra Añejo. And that was flowing. And the lifestyle of this party, and there was performances and singing and a piano and a pool, and it was fantastic. And Fletcher Azul Tequila fit right in. If you're looking for a new tequila experience, this is the one for you. Fletcher Azul, proud partner of our show. It's a lifestyle change for everybody. Most who switch over to it never go back. Make your margaritas, make your tequila on the rocks even more special. We welcome Fletcher Azul Tequila to our show, proud partner of Raider Nation Radio, as we continue on here. So I was at Raider practice just for a little bit of time today for about the first 20 minutes. They're working on special teams. With all those special teams penalties, you can wonder why. And there's a lot of buttoning up they need to do before this game against the 49ers on Thursday night. Alex Eschelman joins us from KTNV. She's one of our insiders. She'll be joining us around this time, and we love having her on Tuesdays. And what are you thinking here? You've been covering the Raiders the entire offseason. Ashton Jeanty goes down. I think some of the news is encouraging. How have you been covering that story?
Yeah, JC, well, first of all, thank you as always for having me on. It's always an honor to be on your show. The second thing is, yes, alongside you, I have also been at most of the practices on behalf of Channel 13, trying to do the best coverage that we can for training camp. And you mentioned it, Ashton Jeanty going down yesterday. And it's interesting, you know, with a first-year head coach, you learn kind of how they handle these types of moments and the responses that they give to questions. And today, when Clint Kubiak took the podium, no surprise there, in my opinion, with him being very tight-lipped, very to the point. And I actually have really enjoyed listening to not only him, but the rest of the team talk about that moment of prayer and talk about faith. I asked Ian Thomas about that yesterday, just a more general question, not specifically about when the team huddled and prayed after Ashton was, after he left early for practice on Sunday. But, you know, everybody, it's very interesting, you know, the role that faith plays in this entire team. And I think when you're trying to rebuild something, it comes down to these basic fundamentals that might seem basic, but they're really the most important things. And that is the faith in your team and the camaraderie and the brotherhood. You're seeing that as arguably the biggest positive out of this year's training camp.
Yeah, I don't report on injuries. I wait for the Raiders to do it, and I know you do it too, and you follow protocol. But when everybody talked about taking a knee in the prayer, and Clint Kubiak mentioned it today at the press conference, that means it was severe at the moment. And if the Raiders get good news and Raider Nation gets better news that it's an ankle instead of the knee, which is reported and is out there now, I think that's something that everybody should be really relieved and happy about, even though we don't know the outcome of the ankle and when he'll be ready to play.
Totally. And I think, again, just going back to the brotherhood and the camaraderie, and this is not trying to say that, what happened with Ashton Jeanty isn't important, but whether it was Ashton Jeanty or some, whether a 2, 3, or 4, starter or backup, you name it, I think that the entire team would have done that, exactly that, and come together on the field. Again, that to me is just the biggest thing that's standing out with this group is the humility that they're all showing and the brotherhood that they're looking to build.
I saw you tweeted out yesterday with no Ashton at practice, Mike Washington Jr. was getting work with the ones, and you showed him catching a pass. It's not just a running back now for Ashton and Mike Washington. This is a Kubiak offense where you're going to get the ball as a running back, as a receiver. And we've seen Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara and some of the other backs that he's worked with in the past, and they are all on alert to turn their head, look at the quarterback because the ball could be coming their way. Alex, I think this is one of the most important topics of this entire season is how many receptions the entire backfield, the running backs and the fullback, Hayward, are going to get this year, because that to me is like a receiver position, and they've got to maximize the value of the receptions that are coming out of the backfield. Do you agree?
Totally. And, not to continue to bring up Ian Thomas, but I was able to have a great one-on-one with him. I know we talked about that a couple weeks back as well, but talking with him not only in that one-on-one, but in yesterday's presser, he made the statement, with this new offense, it's super important for us to get the attention of the quarterback first. There's so many different weapons that they're able to either pass to or hand the ball off to. So it's going to be really exciting to see once everything kind of starts to come together, and especially when we see all of the starters out there, what that really looks like, because there are a lot of weapons. It's just a matter of people stepping up, people getting the attention of the quarterback, and this entire offense really coming together, of course, starting with that offensive line, too.
Alex Eschelman joins us as we wrap it up. It's interesting because I look at the fact that he hasn't announced a quarterback yet, but I'm in the camp that thinks it's going to be Kirk Cousins. I'll ask you your opinion here, but are you surprised by this? Because he leaves the door open after the game that he wants competition there. He's an offensive-minded head coach. I don't have a problem with that, but most people are assuming from the national media to the local media that Kirk Cousins has done enough to be named the starter. And you've been at all these practices. Overall, you think he's looked pretty good, right?
100%. And I don't think – I'm not going to say it's not a competition because, of course, it is. But I do think that Kirk Cousins is the starter for a very bare minimum game one. Mm-hmm. I mean, I do think that. And I think not only because of his veteran experience and what Clint Kubiak has said, he's stated it's his job to lose. And Clint Kubiak is definitely not, saying things just to say things. He's as serious and as to the point as they come. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to take that at that statement, every word seriously. And at practice, JT, you can see the way he commands the offense, the way that he gets the guys' attention, the way that he has the guys' respect. He just knows what he's doing. And I'm not saying that you're not seeing that with Fernando Mendoza or Aiden O'Connell, but you can just see his veteran presence take center stage in more ways than one during practice.
All right, I want to wrap it up with UNLV because you've been at a lot of practices, and I don't want to dive deep into personnel, but I want to talk about the importance of this game since you came to the market here in Las Vegas, and Dan Mullen's now the coach, and they recruited well. I think they're keeping good players. They're not complaining about NIL money. The players who are here seem to be a good fit overall. This is a big game coming up with Memphis. It's a home game. It's Allegiant Stadium. They got to win. LSU could lose a game. Alabama could lose a game. Oregon, they're going to make the playoffs. If this is a year that UNLV is going to compete for a playoff berth and be one of those teams that shock the world, they got to get this game under their belt. And the line is tight, and I think this is going to be a great game. Do you expect the atmosphere to be good there? And a lot of the students are going to show up along with the alumni. They got to treat this game like it's a big one.
Well, let's sure hope so, JT. And I know we've talked about this even last season on your show, the importance of the fans showing up, because they've made huge strides over the last handful of years, as we both know, not only with Barry Odom at first, but Dan Mullen continuing to take another step. And last season, I went to a handful of games, even just as a fan, just being able to watch and be a spectator. You can see that there's more and more people coming to these games, and they're garnering the atmosphere and the attention that they want. But yes, I completely agree with you. Memphis is a must-win, especially if they want to be in any type of conversation when it comes to a playoff berth. But it's a good topic because I haven't even really thought about the whole storyline of the playoff berth at this point. I think right now you got to get out there. We need to get our starting quarterback set, that's for sure. You've got that battle between Jackson Arnold and Alex Orji going on. So it'll be interesting to see who starts under center there. But, this weekend is certainly a must-win. And, hey, with Boise State out of the picture, I'm not trying to diminish UNLV by any means, but I do think with Boise State being out of the conference is certainly going to help them this season. It'll also be interesting to see how they fare against North Dakota State.
Pretty big week, I would think, for you with UNLV and the Raiders at home against the 49ers. A lot of coverage here on ABC 13. I think you're going to be pretty busy, right?
100%, JT. And even, let's not forget about the Little League World Series either. I actually just talked to Carson Meyer, one of the two girls competing in the Little League World Series, has had a great showing along with Kinley Rasmus. I mean, she's balled out as well. Super cool to see both those gals, kind of stealing the spotlight, and we'll have more on her later tonight on Channel 13.
Look forward to this. I'll see you at Allegiant Stadium. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks, JT, as always. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Alex Eschelman covering multiple sports teams in Vegas, and she's had a lot of practices, and we're going to have her on every other week in her normal time slot on Tuesday, with rotation with a couple other guests that are coming in. We're announcing our guest list next week. It's a pretty big deal for us with all of our new partners and our guests that are pretty reliable and come on with us either weekly or every other week. Let's hear from you now. You can get through 702-365-9200, 702-365-9200. We heard from Clint Kubiak earlier. I thought he was, pretty stern with the media there. They asked him and I give the media credit. They opened up the first three questions. They wanted to know about Ashton Jeanty, and he said he was on the mend. He was not there to talk about the injury update, and he's not going to do that. I don't know what his dad did. I know what Pete Carroll did. Some other people did. Everyone acts differently as a coach. You could be a lot more open, more talkative. You could talk about injuries maybe more comfortably. He's not, and I'm fine with that, and I think we all should be. You should all just respect the way this coach treats his job, his demeanor. It's all ball. It's all business. He will not do anything to embolden the opponent. You don't want Miami walking around their building today saying, this is great, Jeanty's not playing. We don't know if Jeanty's going to play or not, but you're not going to make it easy for Miami as they prepare going forward. And I think this is a big moment for the Raiders to have an opportunity to beat Miami with or without Ashton Jeanty. And we'll see what happens there. 702-365-9200. I spent a lot of time last night, on my night show talking about Jed York. And a couple of people asked me to comment on this today. I don't make fun of a lot of people in these situations. I'm not a guy who's doing a comedy bit. I'm not going to sit here and make fun of Jed York. Jed York's got now an ex-wife. He's filed for divorce. I don't know if they're formally divorced yet. He's got 2 kids. He's got parents who were owners of this team before him. He's shot. He's shot right now. I don't know how he's going to rebuild his family or what he's going to I'm assuming that the league, because of the way they treated Robert Kraft, aren't going to do much. But Roger Goodell has the ability to suspend him, also fine him a significant amount of money. And then I don't think Jed York's going to be really comfortable going to Levi Stadium and walking around the sideline with his credential on with Jerry Rice in Montana pregame like he used to do. I think it's going to be very uncomfortable for him.
Yeah, you're going to have to stay out of the public light, and you got to make sure that everything is followed until the commissioner kind of rules on this, because when you do get suspended, even as an owner, you're off all committees.
Yep.
You're not allowed to spend any time at the facility. And so that weighs heavily on you, and that just shines a bad light on ownership altogether, where people start thinking differently about your ability to be a leader.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point you make, because if you do catch a suspension, you can't be around your investment. And I don't think that's pretty bad. Most important thing is his family. Reports now that Jamar Chase says he is fine after hyperextending his knee. I mean, that would have been a serious injury. That would have been a massive injury because he went down hard, didn't get up initially that quickly. And they're going to see how he looks here. But I would assume after he's okay, he claims he's okay, he's going to want to probably sit out too. This is wild what's happening around the league. Pro Football Talk just put out a video. Miles Simmons, who comes on our channel a lot. Clint Kubiak, Ashton Jeanty is on the mend. The injury to Ashton Jeanty was apparently not as serious as initially feared, as it was reported that he was diagnosed with a sprained ankle after going down during practice over the weekend. In his Tuesday press conference, head coach Clint Kubiak declined to give any specifics about Jeanty or the nature of his injury, saying simply, quote, he's on the mend. You're going to be hearing that sound bite a lot as we lead up to week one, and we're seeing what's happening there. Kyle Shanahan's hoping that Nick Bosa will practice next week. You know, I got the flip chart here on the Niners coming in. Niners got a good team, but the Niners can't afford injuries because they got injuries, and they're bringing along George Kittle. Trent Williams is one of the great left tackles ever, and they don't need to put him out there because he's getting older and older, and eventually something can go wrong with him, so I don't expect to see him. Brock Purdy's a good player. Brock Purdy, he wants to play. He wants to get out there. No need to see Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey's another guy who runs violently, and if he runs violently and cuts or makes a move or gets hit and he's gone, the Niners are finished. So I am very intrigued tomorrow, because we'll be hosting the show tomorrow, from Raiders headquarters. And in the beginning of the show, I'm going to pop out. In the beginning of the show, we're going to sit down with the coach, with Rich Gannon and Eric Allen and Kirk Morrison. I believe Jason Horowitz will be there. And we're going to hear from the coach on who's going to play or not. We will not report that on the radio shows. We'll have that information for the broadcast, and the broadcast will be Thursday night. I just think going around the league that everything I'm reading on other websites with other teams is everybody's just going to sit this week out. Sit it out and get to the start of the season and be ready to go the start of the season. Also, Patrick Mahomes says he's feeling great, and he's on track for week one. Andy Reid is downplaying that in a big way. 702-365-9200. How you feeling about Ashton Jeanty today, Raider Nation? We're doing a talk show. I'm not a mind reader. It's the biggest story in the NFL. Top 3 story in the NFL, and it revolves around our radio station. How you feeling on Jeanty with the limited information you're getting? You're getting limited information. How is that affecting you as a listener to this broadcast and this channel, knowing that you're not going to know anything because the coach isn't going to tell you anything? I support the coach. I think a lot of people are feeling much better now about Ashton Jeanty. But we'll dive into exactly what's going to happen here with the depth chart. I'm going to come back and tell you a couple of players that I think are on the bubble and how this plays out for him as we get you ready for the 49ers. Coming up on the other side, we're brought to you by the 872 Laborers, led by Tommy White, building the city on time and on budget. And believe me, there is a lot of construction going on. And if you want to become a member of the 872 and do what this city does best, build, and build with quality and build with pride, that's the 872 Laborers, led by our buddy Tommy White. Fernando looking left across the middle. Caught. Touchdown. Jack Besh, Fernando Mendoza, a rifle to Jack Besh, and the Raiders score 6. Touchdown, Las Vegas Raiders. That's EA, Eric Allen in the background saying, woo, on that touchdown. I'll be on the call, the play-by-play with Matt Millen and Eric Allen. Jason Horowitz will be in the television booth with Rich Gannon and Kirk Morrison. That's coming up Thursday. There'll be a silver carpet, not a red carpet, for the alumni that are coming back. 300 alumni reportedly coming in, and they will be in the Wynn Field Club. So when you look at that, Mark Davis brings it out for a preseason game. You can't bring 300 out for a regular season game. You can't. You know the price of the tickets, the Wynn Field Club. Mark is very generous in this ownership of bringing the alumni back. They have a bunch of events that they're going to be entertaining the alumni at, which is going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to connect. I talked to Kirk Morrison, and we're going to have Kirk Morrison as a regular. It's a new segment. We have the Brick and the Backer, and that's going to be debuting. We got a nice sponsor for that. I'll tell you about that coming up here. But he says he comes back every year for the alumni game, even when he wasn't calling the Raider games, because he wants to make sure he sees his brothers and his former teammates and some of the older players. He wants to see them, because you never know when you're not going to see him again. And we won't have Rod Martin back this year, but he'll be there in spirit. Rod's been at every alumni event I have ever been at when it comes to events this big. He's always the first guy there. And with Rod Martin passing away, I think a lot of people are going to have a heavy heart. They're going to look around the room and not see Rod, and that will spur stories about Rod Martin. And people will be talking about his legacy, and I'm looking forward to that. I think when someone passes away, a superstar like Rod Martin in this organization, a two-time Super Bowl champ, that people should celebrate his life. Everybody who's devastated that he passed, for sure, and everybody's mourning, but everybody should celebrate his life, and that's what the Raiders do well. They know how to celebrate good times. So I believe that Tyler Linderbaum is critical to turn this whole season around quickly. If the Raiders are going to surprise people, it's got to be because of Tyler Linderbaum. We know that Fernando's going to have to wait a little bit to play. But Linderbaum wants to set the tone with this offense. And working with Mendoza, he's seen a lot of things. This is his first time with this Heisman Trophy winner, the number 1 pick overall.
I think he's continued to grow and taking command of the huddle, taking command of communication, and that's hard to do as a young guy. You're dealing with a lot of new things, a whole new offense. So just seeing the growth and his command and his operation, it's a good starting point. But I know he's not where he wants to be, but he's been fun to work with.
If he says he's fun to work with, that's enough for me. There's been much said about Fernando not working under center much in college. I think he had 5 snaps, if it was 5, under center at Indiana, and he's had plenty now. In these first 2 games, they have him under center. He's learning the snap count. He's got Tyler Linderbaum that's going to help him when he starts eventually. Linderbaum commented on Fernando under center.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't noticed a big issue with it. I think it's interesting. You get guys who are always in the shotgun and then now have to go under center. There's sometimes a big learning curve, but he's been working on it. I mean, we have had the whole OTAs, fall camp. So rule number 1, that's when the play starts, is that quarterback center exchange. So there can't be any mistakes.
Yeah, I think that's a really important time now for Linderbaum to establish the run. He's got to establish the run, and he's the guy to do it. If you're going to run it up the middle, you got to run it behind Linderbaum. If Linderbaum's going to pull at center, pull and move, you got to run behind him. He is a freak. He has the ability to run block as good as any center in the league, but he also gives his philosophy on how you have to deserve it and become a running team.
One, I think you have to earn that right. You can talk about it, but at the end of the day, you got to be about it. You got to, when that ball's snapped, you have to prove to the coaches, to the opposing team, that you're able and capable of running the football. So that's what we're striving to do right now, is get out all the kinks right now and practice, and then when we line it up on Sundays, that's the team that we want to be.
We had the opportunity to talk to him before the Arizona game, and Matt Millen really dove down deep with him about his career at Iowa. Everything from the way he ate, he worked out, lifted weights, everything. Learned a lot about Tyler Linderbaum there, and he seems to be a very genuine, nice guy. But the same was said about Steve Wisniewski. And when the game turned on and the game started, they were maulers. I can't wait to see Linderbaum on game day. I want to see what his demeanor's like, how nasty he is, pancake blocks, how he goes after certain players. What is he able to do when he gets his hands on linebackers and how he finishes? I am really excited to watch him play. Alex Eschelman was just on. She talked about Ian Thomas, the tight end, who by all accounts is going to be on this team and be a valuable resource, especially if the two tight ends above him get hurt or get banged up. So he talked about the confidence that Fernando has and what he's seen with our star number 1 pick overall.
His confidence is through the roof, and I love it. And, the guys are always right behind him, pushing him to go forward, right? And he's a number 1 overall, so you expect a lot out of him. But it's not easy going into a pro team or pro level and, making a splash right away. So the more we can do, to encourage him to do better is, the better for us, right? So, he's been coming along real good, and everyone loves it. So, like I say, he's an IU guy, and I love that too.
Yeah, he's an IU guy too. Came up years before Fernando, but very excited about the confidence that he sees. And he also knows Fernando's resilient. This is preseason football, man. This is not the end of the world. But Fernando's treating every day like he's got to get better, and his teammates are seeing that, including Ian Thomas.
I think I just kind of got a lot more comfortable, and I wish I could have done a lot more in the past. And it kind of sucks that I haven't. But as I get comfortable with, moving here, moving state to state and everything from West Coast and making sure the wife and the daughter is good, it's tough. It's a lot. So, just taking advantage, taking it all in, and helping my teammates to get better because everyone's pushing for that one goal, and it's a short time for a lot that we have to get accomplished. So I don't know if I told him this or not, but on the way to the last game, he was watching a service on his phone. So he's very faith-based, and I'm sure everyone knows that. So when things go wrong, I'm sure he falls back on his faith and then get right back on track and go again. This league is. Everyone pushes to be perfect, and it's hard to be perfect, right? We practice a lot. This league, you practice more than you play. So, for him to get out there and have the encouragement that he has and the self-awareness that he has is really good at a young age. And I'm sure everyone can see it, and he's pushing himself to do better. Obviously, you never want to be the person that's like, oh well, I guess I'll have it next time. He want that play back right away. So. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's nice when you hear those in-depth opinions on Fernando. There's only so much we see. We don't get to see everything there. Also, one more for me and Thomas on Kirk Cousins, because Thomas is going to be in there and hopefully catching balls from Kirk
I love
Cousins.
Kirk, man. He brings the energy. He's a leader in this team, leader in the QB room, and he's been in this league a while. So, he has everyone on track, and he's the voice of the team. So if you want anything done, you're like, hey, Kirk, what do you think about this? Oh, yeah, I'll make it happen. Or, hey, what do you see me in this play? Oh, it's not only football, but outside of football, everything. Kirk's he's a great guy.
He is. I interviewed Kirk Cousins back in the day. I haven't interviewed him here with my time with the Raiders. He doesn't know who I am, and I have no problem with that. He might, but I want him to win. I want him to play a number of weeks and win games. The start of the Raiders season is going to be critical for the mid to end of the Raiders season. And if Cousins is going to start, he's got to be at his best. He's got to be at his best. I've studied some tape. I know his career. I covered his entire career. This is a guy who was drafted to be a backup in this league. He was drafted, Clay, in the 4th round to back up RG3. He was never drafted by the Washington Redskins at the time to be a starter. They did not think he'd be a starter. They took him behind RG3 to develop him, and he developed into the second highest paid guaranteed quarterback. He's made more money than Mahomes, more money than all the other guys. Now, they'll surpass him. Mahomes will down the stretch, but he's right behind Tom Brady. He knows how to win. He knows how to get paid.
Yeah, and also the career touchdowns are right up there among the highest among the active quarterbacks. And to think of all the guys he's learned from even from Mike Shanahan, the elders of our modern game. He's been a part of that, but somebody who has had to overcome a lot of obstacles and someone who has also been able to excel in the right system.
He's been in a lot of good systems. He has been. That's why he's put up good numbers. The Minnesota years, he was very good. Now, people would say, he couldn't win. He couldn't win in primetime, and he couldn't until he did. And he doesn't have a great playoff record, right? He didn't play on great teams. The teams he played on, I always thought Minnesota was pretty good. I didn't think they were ever an elite team. And he's coming to the Raiders now, and the Raiders aren't an elite team. They're not. So they're going to have to turn around, and put him in winning situations. And how good would it be if the Raiders were 1-0, which I expect, and they go into the Chargers, and Kirk Cousins is playing in front of a home crowd in L.A. He doesn't know this yet. And Justin Herbert has to cover his ear holes in his helmet to call the plays because Raider Nation's louder than the Charger fans. That could happen. I mean, Chargers getting more fans. They are. They got a good team. I mean, Jim Harbaugh brought in more fans than less fans. Justin Herbert's married to a starlet. His fan base is growing, but still nowhere near the fan base of the Raiders. Nowhere near. So to be 1-0 and to go into L.A., if that's the play, I'll have this place pumping. That week, we'll be going nuts. We'll be going right at L.A., but we need that win against Miami. The win against Miami will put everybody in a situation to be at the top of their game, heading into a place where the Raiders are really desperately looking for a win. I'm a Rob Leonard fan, and he's talking about some of the backup linebackers or some of the linebackers that'll play more. Eichenberg, Lindenberg, the Bergs. Here's the D coordinator.
We got the Bergs. I mean, Tommy's a killer. He takes it very seriously. He's very focused. I love Tommy for a million reasons. I could go on and on. I think Cody's one of the most improved players from just in terms of movement and efficiency from where he was last year, and I think it really stood out in the spring. And I'm just proud. I'm really proud of Cody of all the work he's put in. It means the world to those guys. Those guys do everything they could possibly do. So just very proud of those guys and want to see them have success as much as they want it.
It's nice. So Rob Leonard's not going to have superstars at every position, but maybe the Bergs show up and play well. Special teams also. If you're going to start for Rob Leonard, you better know his schemes, multiple schemes, because he's not showing the league any of it now. None of it. And he's going to have a dialed-up scheme with different packages. Obviously, nickel, dime, the basic stuff that we know, but I'm interested to see the rotation up front. How many pass rushers could he take and send to the quarterback, Clay? If you look at Kwity Paye and Max, is there any scenario where you could see Malcolm Kuntz on the field along with Max and Kwity Paye, so you could have three edge rushers out there, one lining up outside of the linebacker type, and they're rushing the quarterback with guys who have had success doing that.
Yeah, because you can rely on the linebackers now to actually go and be able to do their job with 7 and 17, Dean and Walker. And at the same time, you have safeties now that are now rushing towards the line of scrimmage in great fashion. We saw just little glimpses of that from Taron Johnson to Traden Stukes. Tristan McCullum's done that in the preseason, so you're getting a lot of variety. They're not showing a lot of it, but what they are is they're giving you different looks, and it won't just have to be all Max to try to generate a pass rush.
They have to cover, though. That's what you and I are going to be doing. You on the morning tailgate, me here with your help. They got to cover. If they're in space, they got to guard, and this is important. You have to be able to get to a man and guard him, deflect the football, intercept the ball, or just make it uncomfortable for the player to make a reception.
I think they got the right player, but I think also because of their youth, the technique needs to be worked on.
Yeah.
And we saw that with McCoy. His improvement from game 1 to game 2 in the preseason, that's what I'm talking about. So that kind of technique, it'll take a game or two, but I think there's already a lot of emphasis on how to go and track the ball, and you're starting to see like 3 to a ball every time that ball's up in the air.
Yeah, we want to see better coverage. Got to see better coverage, and Rob Leonard could draw it up. I think he's going to put him in a good spot. I think Rob Leonard's going to be fundamentally sound. But if the line doesn't get to the quarterback and the quarterback too much time, I don't think the secondary is going to be able to handle it. They haven't showed that they can. But the good news is they haven't played with the starters and Max Crosby, other than practice, going balls out. That could be the difference here. 702-365-9200. If I have to talk this long during the season, I won't make it till week 5. Anybody out there other than me and Clay today? Anybody excited about the Niners? What are we doing? The Niners are coming to town. I thought Raider fans in Oakland and L.A. and Vegas hate the Niners. Let's get going, or are we all just taking the rest of the next 2 weeks off and just kind of chilling? I guess I've been telling everybody to chill, so I got to be careful with that. I want to chill. So maybe just keep chilling and I'll keep talking. And then we'll ramp it up and get going when we have to get going. That's what we'll do. Remy Martin's got Remy Cointreau. If you're going to make a tequila drink, you have to have Cointreau. If you don't, then you're not going to have that great margarita that all of these restaurants and bars and beautiful, beautiful clubs and lounges have. Whenever I walk into a big spot, I look to see the Louis XIII up there, and I look for the Cointreau. And then the 1738. And then, Mount Gay rum. More and more people. A buddy of mine asked for a rum and Coke the other day. I said, do you have Mount Gay? They said, yes, we do. My buddy said, clear, light. It was a fantastic rum and Coke. I grew up with a lot of guys who drank rum and Coke. And they love rum and Coke. And now they're switching over to Mount Gay rum. Proud partner of our show. We'll wrap it up on the other side. Q's coming up next. He was at practice today. He'll give you his opinion on what he's seeing. The comments from Clint Kubiak on Ashton Jeanty mending. That was strategic today. The coach went to the podium. He knew exactly what they were going to ask. And he gave one-word answers on Jeanty and moved on. I think that's refreshing. He's all ball. Get used to it.
Split out wide receiver to the left side. 2 tight ends to the right. Laube, the lone tailback. O'Connell turns, hands it off to Laube. Bounces it to the outside at the 5. Angling to the goal line. Touchdown Raiders. Dylan Laube started up the middle. Angled out to the right. Does his shimmy in the end zone. And the Raiders cap it off. A fumble recovery for the defense. And Laube for 6.
I like Dylan Laube, but I like him every preseason. That's the issue. Is he going to do much in the regular season? He's obviously there to be someone that could go out and, go make plays on special teams, which is important. It's important that there's special teams players that could go out there and do something and make plays. I'm all for that. But what can Dylan Laube do to help, especially if we're waiting to see Ashton Jeanty? And we have no update on that. We don't know what's going to go on with Ashton Jeanty. But Ashton Jeanty's in a situation now where, I hate to use the word day-to-day, but it is day-to-day when it comes to him. And when it comes to day-to-day, my podcast partner, Tom Looney, always says when you hear that, we're day-to-day. Well, aren't we all day-to-day? None of us are promised tomorrow. Life is short. But in football, when you hear day-to-day, you wonder. And we didn't hear anything about Jeanty today. Nothing. And you're not going to hear anything, I don't think, on this flagship radio station until the Raiders tell us he's ready to play. That's the way they're running it now. It's different with different coaching staffs, but the Raiders have been pretty consistent about that since I've been with the team. They're very consistent about not giving the league or other teams that they're going up against information that they don't need. And Ashton Jeanty's a big deal. So I got my flip card in front of me for the Niners, and I got to study up here. I have been, but the next couple of days on the Niners, because we don't know who's going to play for the Niners. And my takeaway, guessing what's going to happen here, is that they shouldn't play Christian McCaffrey. They should play Mac Jones, and we're familiar with Mac Jones. We know Mac Jones from beating him with the Patriots on the Chandler Jones throwback interception. Kyle Juszczyk is a really good fullback. He's back with the team. But they have some weaknesses. Mike Evans has not been 100%. He could be really good. Demarcus Robinson is a pretty good player. I've been looking at the depth chart of their wide receivers. Deebo Samuel, I'd like to see Deebo play with the twos. But they might want to shut him down because he's an older player. Trent Williams should not play. He still remains a top 3 left tackle in this league. And when we look at the running back situation, they have Christian McCaffrey. We just saw what happened to Ashton Jeanty. Why would they even consider putting Christian McCaffrey out there for a series? They also have, when you look at some of the players that are on this team, they got some running backs in Jordan James and Kellyon Black. They got guys. Sincere McCormick. How about that? Sincere McCormick is on this card here. So there's going to be guys competing for an opportunity to play. And then as I looked at the defense of the 49ers, Nate Hobbs. Nate Hobbs makes his return to Allegiant Stadium. And this team's been good on defense over the last couple of years, but they got to find a way to get out of this game and be healthy because they want to keep their linebackers healthy going forward, because the one thing the 49ers can't afford is for any of their linebackers to go down. They're good. They've had good linebackers here for this organization for a while, led by Fred Warner and Dre Greenlawn. Those are good players. And Nick Bosa really is near the end of his career. They're trying to get one more big postseason run at from him, and hopefully they'll be able to do it for their sakes. I mean, I'm not a Niner fan. I'm not rooting for the Niners to win. But the Niners got their work cut out for them because I don't think they're going to be as good. I mentioned this last night. The Niners are playing for a wild card. And over the last 10 years, they've been playing for the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl. They haven't been playing for a wild card. I think this is the first time they actually play for a wild card. They're not going to beat the Rams. Over a 17-week schedule, the Rams are going to have more wins than the Niners. Most people would say that. But what about the Seahawks? Are they going to regress and come back to the pack for a game or two? And can the Niners withstand that? Because if the Niners are playing for a wild card, that means if they get a wild card, they're going to be on the road the whole postseason. And Kyle Shanahan ain't going to win the Super Bowl this year with the Rams if he's a wild card on the road. It ain't happening. Niners are going to really have to get out of the gate quickly here if they want to be in it late. Thor, out in Summerlin. Go ahead, Thor, wrap it up.
JT, what's up, brother? I heard you say, I just got in my car. I've been running around busy all day. I need to try to get in here because this is a huge rivalry for me, personally. It's a preseason game, so, again, I don't care. You know what I care about? I hear it's Niner fans who are coming out here, and they're talking about they're taking over Vegas, and they're doing this, they're doing that, and there's these events and whatever. Stop it. Stop it. Raider fans, show up. Get out there. Represent. The Niners are a good football team. As much as I hate them, they have a good defense. So whatever it is, whoever's playing, we're going up against good, solid players. They're an older team, though. They're a way older team. We need to see our youth show up and show out in this game. And Raider fans, go out there and represent, because if you're a new Raider fan and this don't mean that much to you, or you're a Raider fan from back east and you never really understood this rivalry, it means a lot to Raider fans from the Bay, from around, and show up and show out, because Raider fans, we always have each other's back. And we're not going to let anyone come into our house, wherever it may be, and act like they're running stuff. We're not having that, JT. Okay. So, Raider Nation, show up and show out. Yeah, I agree. Be loud. Let them know they out here. Let's go, and everyone stay healthy.
Thank you, Thor. Look, the Niners travel well. I'm not going to act like that's not true. The Niners travel well. And the Raiders and the Ninth Island, with the Niners and the Raider fans in Hawaii and the Niner fans in California, they easily can get to Vegas by car. And they'll be here. Because the Niners aren't coming here for the regular season. The Raiders are going to the Niners. So you better believe there's going to be some Niner fans saying, I'm going to Vegas to watch my team play. So wear black, show up, and be loud, and do what you do best. Q's coming up next. You'll have a great show. We'll see you back here tomorrow. I'll be broadcasting live from Raiders headquarters. Thanks to Clay Baker, as always. Have a great day, everyone.